Okay, let's dive deep into Promise.all. As we all should know, Promise.all takes in an array of promises and then runs them, and then outputs an array with the results in order. Okay, now, there's some confusion about if it's executing the promises concurrently or parallel. Parallel means at the same time, and that is not possible because JavaScript is single-threaded. Concurrently is what's happening. Concurrently means it's pushed into the event loop, and then it executes each promise, and then at the end, if all the promises are resolved, then it puts it into your array in the order, right? So even if users takes 1,000 minutes to finish, but albums only takes 1 second, users will still be put at index 0. And let me fix this. Okay, so let's write our own custom function for Promise.all. Remember, it has to be async because all async functions automatically return a promise, right? Even if you do return undefined, it will still be wrapped in a promise. Okay, so what should we do? I'll say let result array is equal to an empty array. And then remember, we're taking in an array of promises. So I'm just going to do a simple for of loop because we don't need the index really. Const promise of array. Okay. Now, inside of this for loop, what are we trying to do? Well, let's say const res is equal to await. What are we waiting? We're awaiting the fetch result of the promise. Now, remember, fetch returns a promise that's a readable stream, so we can't use it yet. So we have to do const data is equal to await res.json. And remember, you can only use .json if you use fetch first. A lot of people think JSON is a method of promises. It's actually just a method for fetch. Okay. Okay, so now that we have the data, we can say our results, ARR, is going to be equal to itself, spreading in whatever is already there. And then now it's going to have the extra data like this. Okay. So now after all of this, we can now just simply return our results ARR. Okay. And then now let's call this function. I'll call my Promise.all, passing in URLs. Now, remember, just because I return something static here doesn't mean that this is not a thenable promise, okay? Because we have an async in front, so this is a promise. So you have to do .then result. Let's console.log the result. Let's see what we get. Okay, so you see now that we get an array of arrays, right? But this is kind of messy. What happens if I want the result to be something like, I want an array of objects that say, let's see, so these are users. So we're going to say users, and then here, it should display an array of users like this. Okay, and then so on for albums and posts. How can we do that? Well, we can actually use reduce to get the job done. So to do that, I'm just going to delete this here, open up curly braces. Now, first of all, I want this array of objects to have the labels here from users, albums, and posts. So I'll just say const labels is an array of labels, users, and posts, right? Okay, so now we can do something like result is equal to result.reduce. Why? Because remember, Promise.all or even our Promise.all returns an array. And if there's an array, you can use reduce. Now, reduce takes in the initial value, the next value, but most people don't know you can also access the index from it. Okay. All right. I want our second argument to be an empty array because I want the final result to be an array. Okay, let me open this up. Now, I want to start with this empty array and work through this empty array on every iteration of reduce, pushing things in and building content inside it. So after every loop in reduce, I have to return the init. The init is this empty array here. On top of that, I can say, hey, init will be equal to an array, spreading in whatever it has, right? And then it's going to have an object because we want an array of objects. how do we get the name of the labels? We're going to say the name of the labels will be evaluated inside square brackets. It's going to evaluate labels at I. Okay, reduce gives us access to I index, which matches the labels index. Okay, so we have our keys. What's our value going to be? Our value is going to be the next array, spread it out like this. Okay. So now after everything, after we have our result, we can simply console.log the result. And then you're going to see now we just have an array of objects, right? And then now we have labels, users, and posts. Was it labels? Oh, users, albums, and posts. So let me fix this. And then albums, like that. And then you see now everything matches. Okay, we go to the users, we have their IDs and names, so it's a lot more formatted. Okay, let me show you something else though about error handling. All right, let's talk about error handling, and I'll show you how to handle errors in some custom ways as well. The best way I think is put all of these in a try block, and then have a catch block. E, and then this is gonna, let's just have console.log catch block ran, and then we can throw error E. Now, remember, the throw keyword is very much like the return keyword. Okay, it exits the function. That's why if I type return here, it says unreachable code detected, because this return line will never run because throw is a return. It just comes with an error message. All right. Okay. So right now you see that it's not working because I changed the endpoints to something incorrect. Let me change it back. It's working. If I change the post to post.x, something like this, we're going to get an error. Okay. So this is the default error on line 15 from the try, right? It says 404 not found. But then you're going to see that our catch block never ran, right? Because we don't have the console.log catch block ran. Why is that? Well, because if this is inside of a try, it's actually trying correctly, right? It's trying to get this URL to fetch. It's successfully tried, right? There's actually no errors on the endpoint. Now, if I delete this and I type the URL wrong, then the catch block runs. See, it says catch block ran, and then it threw the error. Okay. So there's different types of errors. The endpoint error does not get caught. Now, I want the endpoint error to get caught. How can we do that? Well, inside of the res, we can do something simple like, hey, if res.ok is falsy, let's just console.log res.ok is falsy, error of status, and then I can get the status. Oh, let me put these in template strings. Status, and then you can do res.status, and then you can do from res.url, like this. Okay, so now if I save it, we get the default error from line 15's try, right? But we also get our custom error from line 18. It says res.ok is falsy, and this is where it went wrong because it has the X, right? But then our catch block is still not running. Why is that? Well, because this if inside of the try is actually successful, right? In order to have our bottom catch statement run, you have to do throw error. Okay. And I'll say this error is from res.ok being falsy. Okay. So now we get the default, we get the line 18 console.log, but since we threw another error, our catch block is going to catch it. When our catch block catches it, it says catch block ran, right? And then it throws the error again here. Okay. So that's why you see this error is from res.ok being falsy. Okay. So this line 19 right here, when you use the throw keyword, all of this message gets passed into this argument right here, right? So that's why when line 27 runs, you see this error is from res OK being falsy. Okay, I hope that was helpful.